JD Vance just blew something out in Minnesota. It's really big. Just happened yesterday, one day ago. Here, right here. So we're just gonna go off.
Has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile. What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very important video and announcement as JD Vance took it to himself to address the nation today. And boy, did he spark up CNN and headlines and Minneapolis, Minnesota, as he has a very brutal reality check for them. But what's happening in this country right now is a formation of what happened in 2020. Here's why I say that. I have a video here before we go to JD Vance. This is why this video is very important. Because what's happening and what's about to happen is literally going on right now. And I think JD Vance knows that. And that's why he's going to deliver a brutal reality check from his view as to what it is that is happening, the foundations of it. And I got to show you this because a Minneapolis man dressed in a Raiders gear tries riling up people to say that this is the next George Floyd, that what happened with the ICE agent basically about to be run over and shooting to save himself or save himself from getting hurt, right? Apparently, they're saying that this was illegal, that he should have never did that, he needs to be locked up, and we need to basically tear up the town. That's what this man is saying. So, take a listen.
Just like with George Floyd. We not gonna, what? We gonna tear this, bro. That's what the has to happen. Does anybody know why we're given the Second Amendment right? Google it. It's to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. The police are supposed to be on our side, fighting, pointing their guns at the government. It's the facts. It's not for honey. It's not for self-defense. It's to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government.
Okay, so all of a sudden we got liberals super pro Second Amendment. You know, it's crazy. It's ironic, but that's not the point of this. You guys heard him. You guys heard what he had to say. There's thousands of people heading to Minneapolis. There was thousands of people literally screaming and chanting F ICE. Again, this is what this has caused. You know, people are riled up. They want like a George Floyd 2.0. And I honestly thought people were joking when they said this. Like, oh, hey, you know, I thought it was like some people on the right just saying it. You know, this is what they're going to try to do. No, they're actually trying to do it. Which, you know, again, brings me to today, right? JD Vance took it upon himself to clear the air and deliver a message, right? He absolutely torches the media to their faces over reporting on the Minneapolis attack because he is pretty much saying, hey, you guys are the one that did this. We also have Tim Walz saying some crazy nonsense. I'll show you that in just 1 second. Take a listen.
When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile. What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The president stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourself. When I was at
Wow. JD Vance not holding back. He's not holding back on the media. He is not holding back on CNN. He is telling CNN straight up to your face, straight up to their face, that they're leaving out some key details. But why is that important, JD? Well, JD knows that the media is the ones that drive all of this. They drove the whole narrative. With Kyle Rittenhouse, they drove the whole narrative with George Floyd. They drove the narratives. Whatever it is that you believe about George Floyd, the media basically propped people up. They were propping them up to go and take to the streets. This will give us the ratings that we need. Especially now that Trump is president, I think liberals, they want this. And again, I told you guys about the white progressives, white liberal progressives. They're going out of their way to go to war with you. Now, I pray to God that that doesn't continue. Obviously we don't want violence on this channel. We don't want any of this on this channel. You guys know how I feel about that. But man, to see Renee Good protecting who? Someone like, anyways, Renee Good is the woman. And again, a lot of people are, oh, we have no sympathy for her, no empathy. I do. I'm a Christian person. I do. I just, it sucks. It's terrible. What happened is terrible. But we got to be realistic about what are the facts here. And boy, did JD Vance go off there. And he's going off on people like Tim Walz. Because Tim Walz, and again, Tim Walz is in the middle of an investigation. Maybe. Will he be arrested?
He should be arrested. Not maybe, he should be
I'm not
arrested.
sure. But there's a huge opportunity. There's like a huge chance that Tim Walz is out of here. And so he's sparking the media. And JD Vance has a message for him for doing that.
I think Tim Walz should resign because it's very clear either that he knew about the fraud in Minneapolis, he knew about the welfare fraud, or at the very least he looked the other way. I mean, this is not like Lex Luthor, right? This is not movie villain fraud. This is the lowest IQ possible fraud. We're going to take the absence of kids and set up a daycare center where there are no children, and we're going to call our early childhood education center the Quality Learning Center. By the way, if you can't spell learning, maybe you shouldn't be in early childhood education. But people got rich off of this. We know that there were schools who either had no enrollment or at least they overstated their enrollment. Tim Walz, either it was unbelievable incompetence or he was in on the fraud. That's one of the things we're going to get to the bottom of.
So he calls for the resignation of Tim Walz. But here's something else that, we need to talk about when it comes to Tim Walz, right? When it comes to Tim Walz, he says that he's never been incendiary toward ICE, right? So Tim Walz is being pointed at, right? Jacob Frey, who is the mayor of Minneapolis, right? And all these people are basically being called out by the right? And they're saying, hey, you're seeing these attacks on ICE. You're seeing all of these attacks as a whole because you guys are the ones driving this. You guys are driving people to really think that American citizens are being kidnapped. And so here's Tim Walz basically coming out and saying, I've never been incendiary. I've never been the guy to cause this. Well, take a listen.
Minnesotans have made it clear time and again they expect transparency through this process where a police officer uses deadly force. The BCA, Commissioner Superintendent Evans, have earned that trust by delivering on that expectation. I think it's clear to everyone as they saw this that it feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even don't know. They've determined that the actions are done. I don't know. I've not used inflammatory terms of
Bullshit.
what happened. I've asked us to find the answers. The only way we find the answers is a thorough investigation.
He says he has not used inflammatory
That's bullshit.
Right? You've heard him. You've heard the message here.
He
Boy,
been called
is the
for
internet
violence
forever,
all
ladies
the
and gentlemen.
fucking time.
Boy, is the internet forever. This is on May 17th,
There you go.
2025. Listen to what he's telling the crowd about ICE.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye. Just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared. To be clear, there's no way for us to know whether they were actually criminals or not. It's not hyperbole to say we're not far from a world where anyone could get that knock at a door.
Oh,
There you go. He
If
lied.
Look, if I'm not into politics and I hear my governor say this stuff, best believe I'm going to hit the streets. Best believe I ain't even going to try to bother to do any research. I'm going to go hit the streets. Yo, we're being kidnapped, man. It's radical government. I mean, we're being kidnapped, man. My governor just said we are being kidnapped, and look at my skin color. Am I next? It should not be proud to be an American. Am I not an American? Like, if I heard that, I'll be tweaking, right? I'll be like, damn, like, but if I did my research and I'll be like, that's not, Tim, you're being incendiary here. That's not really what's happening. You know what I mean? So this fear that he's pushing people to has caused the white liberal saviors to come, I'll rescue you. I'll rescue you. And so you have this dynamic forming in the United States of America by design, by the way. My opinion. Again, I've heard people on the right say, hey, ICE, this is all performative cruelty. A guy by the name of Nick Fuentes said that. And I said, Nick Fuentes? You mean like Nick Fuentes? He's saying that ICE is being performative cruel? Or they're doing performative cruelty because they're not going to hit their marks and numbers, so they have to act very tough and make things worse than they probably should be. That's a point from somebody on the super far right? So again, however it is that you feel, hearing this back does make you realize, man, these people are painting a different reality okay, I believe we all live in a different reality. At this point, it feels like people on the right are living, people on the left. I try to live in this reality at this moment. And just by going to read, just go read. Just go read what's actually going on, right? Kilmer Abrego Garcia.